Ladies and gentlemen, I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak on this important topic. I am a person with visual impairment and I work with several organizations for the disabled, and therefore I want to present before you our perspective, the disability perspective on corporate social responsibility. What are our expectations, what is the reality, and what are the challenges. There will be a little overlap between my presentation and the previous one, but I think because this topic has been neglected for so long, so it deserves this kinds of emphasis. Contrary to popular belief, people with disabilities constitute a large segment of our society. Due to inadequacies in the inauguration process, lack of awareness, the data regarding disability has not properly come out ever in India. The official data is that there are 2.21% people with disabilities as per census 2011, but the World Health Organization and other experts believe that in India there would be at least 6 to 8% people with disabilities. This is not an exaggeration or an overestimate, because countries with similar socio-economic status like neighboring Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal and Pakistan have reported 5 to 7% people with disabilities. The percentage of disabilities in developed countries like the USA, UK, Australia and others is in the range of 16 to 20%. So there is no doubt that people with disabilities constitute a large segment of our society, and their needs cannot be ignored. This neglected and vulnerable group is at the lowest level when it comes to education and employment. Disability is not concentrated in any geographical region. It cuts across sex, religion, caste and economic status. This large group certainly deserves all the attention from the government, from its social welfare efforts, and also from the corporate social CSR initiatives of the businesses. Their participation in the society is a matter of fundamental right, and businesses can actually also benefit from the untapped talent pool available among people with disabilities. The inclusion of people with disabilities can also provide an edge to the companies in this competitive environment, because it will definitely improve their reputation and image. However, the reality is that a handful of businesses are adopting, are working for people with disabilities through their CSR initiatives. Even when a CSR initiative is supporting a program for the disabled, it is generally a one-off effort. I am not saying that all CSR initiatives or all companies should specially support a program for the people with disabilities. Whatever is the program, if you are supporting employment of educated youth, or education of blind, or education of say girl child or the poor children, or rehabilitation of people affected by natural disaster, all that you have to do is to have a plan and a readiness to support people with disabilities in that selected target group. Organizations should have a look at all their internal policies regarding recruitment, product design and development, communication, and check whether they have included interest of people with disabilities in all their policies and practices. So companies should ask themselves questions like, have they recruited people with disabilities? Have they made any change in their workplace to accommodate people with disabilities? Have they ever conducted programs or sensitization workshops to train the people in their workforce regarding issues of diversity and interaction with people with disabilities? If the answer to these questions is no, then definitely the corporates need to do a lot to include people with disabilities. So the suggested path for corporates is that they should have a look at their core principles and adopt a policy which includes people with disabilities. There should be clear commitment from the top management that there will be no discrimination and the company will provide equal opportunity in all its aspects. The businesses should do a self-assessment or get an external assessment done to check whether the disability dimension has been adequately covered in all their policies and practices. The company should also set specific targets regarding inclusion of people with disabilities in their workforce, in the CSR initiatives and all their work, and also set benchmarks or should provide mechanism by which their progress on these targets can be measured. The company should also try to collaborate with organizations for the disabled for evolving their policies and practices. The CSR report of the company should mention what they have done to include people with disabilities and what will be their future action. So there are a lot of challenges before the disabled community, and I think the CSR funds or CSR support can help in overcoming some of them. So as we know, the setup for education of people with disabilities is very weak and inadequate in the country, and we need inclusive schools, we need special schools for certain people with disabilities, and corporate could chip in here. The employment of educated persons with disabilities is a major issue, and so I will just take maybe 1 minute or so. So employment is a major issue, and CSR could help in setting up training facilities for people with disabilities. Similarly, the public infrastructure, the offices, the transport system do not allow people with disabilities to equally participate, and this is also something where companies, the CSR initiative could help. So from our perspective, it is not necessary, it is not only that we are looking for direct support. We would like that as a part of CSR initiative, companies should first look at their own policies and practices, try and become more inclusive. In doing that, they will definitely help people with disabilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Verma. Now I will request Professor J.B. Sharma, who has simply set his title as Corporate Social Responsibility.
Giving this opportunity to share my thought on the most talked about subject in the country now, that is the CSR. You know, if you go into the history of this word CSR, it was given to the word, it was conceived or it was coined in USA. It was late 60s and early 70s when few multinationals in USA, they coined the word CSR, and there, you know, this word was, in fact, there is a slide also I prepared. First they coined the word stakeholders, and in that word stakeholder, because there is a long list of stakeholders including public at large, and that's why this word CSR came into prominence during those days in late 60s and early 70s. Now, that was the period. If you go into the history again, you know, you were realizing the late 80s and early 90s, there were many corporate failures. In England, there were 3 major corporate failures in 91. In 1 year, Maxwell Communication, BCCI, the largest bank of the world, 7th largest bank, Polypeg, one of the largest textile company of the world. Maxwell, one of the largest publishing house of the world, suddenly failed in that year. Not only in UK, it was USA when junk bond fiasco happened. That the job was given. Is the volume okay? You know, the job was given to renowned people in UK, including Sir Adrian Cadbury, to reform the area, how the corporate be governed in a better way, and especially to focus in this area, the responsibility of the corporate towards public at large. Not going into those details, you know, if I go, look at the recent development in my country, India, we are in a very privileged condition. India is the only country in the world that this concept CSR word has been inserted in the statute. Go to any part of the world, you won't find in the statute. There are only two examples, Indonesia and France, where the word is there in the statute, but the word is in a very soft manner inserted in the statute. While in India, though there is a long history, there was a tussle between industry and the government, and finally the government prevailed, and now we have this word CSR in the statute. And as you know, I attended that inaugural session. If you go, that the Companies Act, the recently passed Companies Act in 2013, as per that provision, a company of certain size, we have as on today 13.3 lakh companies in the country. Companies of, not for all, companies of certain size. That is a company having a net worth of 100 crore or more, turnover of 1000 crore or more, or net profit of 5 crore or more, it is minimum 5 crore or more, will ensure that a committee of board is constituted. Titled CSR, Committee on CSR. 1. That committee will have at least one independent director. Second. Third, that committee will form or frame a policy on CSR. Fourth, that committee will ensure that this word is ensured, not mandatory. The committee will ensure, or the company policy will ensure, or the company will ensure that at least, the word is at least, 2% of the net profit is contributed towards CSR activities. And that is at least 2%. Maximum there is no limit. Will ensure. Now that that amount is not a tax. It is not a levy. It will be spent. It is a spending. It will be shown as expenses in the profit loss account. And where this amount will be spent, activities have been defined. They have not been defined in the regulations or rules or provisions. They have been made a part of the law. Those activities have been defined. And in those activities, nowhere the word philanthropy is there. Just have a look at this slide. In the activities defined in the Act, nowhere the philanthropy word is there. Meaning, it is the companies can spend this amount either on this or that or this or that. The word philanthropy is not there. Meaning, those big corporates, they were setting up trust, spending huge amount on philanthropy, mainly on their public employee welfare. It has been excluded. It is not there. So, company will have to ensure that this amount is spent for public welfare. And so the government has delegated that public welfare to the corporate sector. So the corporate sector, they will ensure that that amount is spent on public welfare, and public welfare includes health, education, any eradication of poverty, this, that, and finally contribution to PM's welfare relief fund. including in protecting the interest of the minorities, SCs and STs. And so, to my observation, maybe I may be wrong, spending of this amount on the welfare of the employees, it has been excluded. So this amount will have to be spent on public. That is the crux of this, the provision. And then the other thing is, if you just, as per there is an estimate which, it has been drawn by experts who are working on this concept CSR now. Out of these 13.3 lakh companies in the country, around 1%, that is 8,000 companies will be covered. And 8,000 companies are, if you go into the BSC or NSC listed companies, because this governance probably is mainly in the listed companies. Public is mainly in the listed companies. And so we have, as on today, about 7,500 listed companies in BSC and NSC. All those companies will be covered. And to an estimate, around 10,000 rupees will be spent in 1 year on public welfare. Then there is a survey report. There is a body CSRidentity.com. As per that survey report, last year, 2000, the data based at financial year 2012. The companies, they spend, as per their earlier norms, 1,765 crores. But now, as per this latest provision, they would have to spend around 5,611 crore on the public welfare. Now, the main hindrance in this concept, as to me, is the mindset of the corporates. And there is a huge literature on that, what is the mindset of the corporate. Now, we go into the background. This bill was introduced in 2008, finally referred back to the standing committee, and then to the committee, again reintroduced, then again introduced in 2010, then finally introduced in 2011. It was the CSR was dropped, and finally now we have a code. So there was a huge tussle between the industry and government. Now, what is a corporate? There is a huge literature published on corporate. There is a full-fledged chapter in my book titled Corporate Governance, Business Ethics and CSR on understanding a corporate. We'll not go into those details. What is meant by a corporate? Under that concept, we have a corporate soul and corporate aggregate. Now, when was this word corporate was conceived? It was in 11th century, during 11th century and 13th century, when some of the body corporates in UK, while doing business with the outside world, they conceived the idea of a company, and some of those guilds, they used in their name the word co, and that is how the word corporate was given to the word. We'll not go into these details because of the time. CSR is interlinked with corporate governance, as per this slide. There are many, I have read hundreds of books on corporate governance and CSR. There is no single definition which I consider as, perfect definition on governance or corporate governance. But to me, it is a single sentence definition given by Sir Adrian Cadbury. And that is based on word meaning of the word governance, in Latin word governance. I'm just taking 2 minutes, maximum. Please do. Governance is based on Latin word governere, which means to steer. And steer is used with reference to driving. And the role of the steer is control and direction. So it is used with reference to driving. And if the direction and control is okay, perfect, then it is a good driving. Because Sir Adrian says, the way a company is directed and controlled. So his focus is in the way. If the way is perfect, it is a good driving. It is a good governed company. If there is any flaw on that way or the way, then it may not be good driving or good governed company. Maybe Satyam or What.com or Enron, but not Infosys. Now, what constitutes good governance? Good governance is based on satisfying stakeholders, business ethics, and CSR. These are the three pillars of good governance: satisfying stakeholders, ethics, and CSR. And the other way of defining good governance is, it is about commitment to values, ethical conduct, exercise of powers in a responsible way. And out of this commitment to values, ethical conduct, exercise of powers in a responsible way, to me the last one is very important. That is exercise of powers in a responsible way. Meaning the people sitting this side, that is the board. This side may be the principal of the college, or the head of the family, or the prime minister of the country. Now the people sitting this side, they must also always keep the interest of the other side. That is, the other side is the public at large, the employees, the directors, the shareholders, or the family, or the countrymen. That is important. So these are the pillars of good governance. And excellence in any corporate is not possible unless it is a case of good governance in long run. Now, on whose behalf the corporate is governed? I am skipping this. There are two approaches to business. One is traditional approach, that is, business of business is to do business. That is traditional approach. It has become outdated. Business of business is to do business. That is, earn maximum profit. It has become totally outdated.